and now it's a week before the holiday, so I got out my Santa hat.
Wonderful.
And as you can see, I don't do traditional, I do ball caps. So I found this ball cap Santa hat, I don't know how many years ago, and and I love it.
It's wonderful. I'm not big on tradition, so I've got to cut out of here at 2:30 though.
Okay.
So anything that you need me to vote on, if we need to vote on things, if we could do those first, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
And my daughter's in the hospital, and I need to call her case manager this afternoon.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But it's life, you know. At least we have doctors. You know, that's the important thing.
Yes, yes. I hope she gets better soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Me too. Be nice to have her back to her joyful little self.
Yes, yes. Send her my best wishes, would you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I think last week she had two performances on Monday and Tuesday, and I think she just kind of overdid herself.
It can happen, even when you're young.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone else. Julie and Chris, I want to thank you both for being on camera. I love seeing your faces.
We also get to see Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
He has become a lap cat in the last couple years, so he likes to join me for meetings.
Hey, I love my pets, you know. I think it's great. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Julie. Hi, Chris. I'm a cat lady too.
I think animals need loving
too. Yeah, I love my dogs.
How many do you have these days, Michelle?
4.
That's okay. That's a manageable number. I think earlier this year you probably had like 15 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we're down to 4. The smallest one is she's about 50 pounds, and the biggest one is about 82.
So I'm not paying for the food for them dogs. That's big. Wow.
They're all lap dogs.
85 pounds on your lap.
Oh yeah, he thinks he's a lap dog. He thinks he's a chest dog. He's one of the former puppies from the puppy pack, and so you know he still thinks he's a chest dog.
Yikes.
He turns 2 on Christmas Eve, so
awesome. I wonder if we'll get quorum today. Adrian.
Adrian.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Abigail. Got Carlia's quiet in the background. Looks like Linda's quiet in the background. Ryan always hides in the background.
Hi, Michelle.
Alexis is in the background. Autumn is in the background. Hello. I love seeing your smiling faces.
Julie, what's your kitty's name?
This is Bailey.
Oh,
I
Bailey?
have another cat named Posey, but Bailey is the one who makes meeting appearances.
Oh, is Bailey a calico?
No, he's a Maine Coon.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's your
so
note
cute.
taker, right?
He is a note taker, yes. I have some peanuts out and he's trying desperately to get to them right now. So I'm constantly like, nope, come back. Nope, come back. As soon as they're gone, he'll stay here though and just he'll hang out.
Oh. Hi, Carlea. This is awesome. See folks.
Anybody have any special plans for the upcoming holidays?
Nothing special. The usual, going over to my brother's house. That's pretty much every holiday. Almost every holiday is at his house. So tons of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody comes to my house. It's like I got multiple birthdays, Christmas Eve baby, Christmas, mother-in-law on Christmas Day and Christmas. So that's a lot. I'm exhausted thinking about it.
I hear that. I have a Christmas baby.
Yes.
Hi, Pam.
And please forgive me. I was finishing a meeting with my counterpart. It's good to see everyone.
Hi,
And
Pam.
love the hat, Michelle. Hello.
Thank you.
Are you in Whoville? Your background. You look like Whoville.
No. I was, full disclosure, I'm working from home today because my daughter's car was being shipped. So they were like between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So I'm here, but this could be Whoville.
Mm-hmm.
Because
like
the goal is to make sure everyone, all the Who's have homes.
Yes.
But yeah, my daughter graduated from UNR last week. Youngest honors college graduate in the 150-year history of the university. 19 years old, she killed it. She's a Delta.
Congratulations.
She is a restorative justice champion. Yeah, she took my car to go to the UNLV graduation today. So that's why I have no eyebrows and I'm wearing a hat in Whoville today. So that, just so y'all know. But
Congratulations, Mama.
But I'm so honored to do this work because she said to me, Mom, I see like the work that you're doing. I'm gonna try not to cry. But that was one of the reasons why she worked, so hard. And so to be able to be an example and then also be a part of this group, it's not lost on me. So thank you all for your shared support when I couldn't make it to meetings and stuff. We all know we all, do different roles and things like that. But when we can see our kids do amazing things in spite of all of the craziness, it gives me hope and it makes me want to just go even harder. And if I can make that happen for my kid, imagine all the other kids I can do in this job. And that's why I fight so hard. So thank you. Okay, now you're gonna make me cry my makeup off.
I love
Amen.
all of that so much. That is just
Amen.
amazing.
And with that, Abigail, you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the subcommittee meeting for technical assistance of the Governor's Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing. This meeting has been publicly noticed in compliance with Nevada's open meeting law. Chair Michelle Fuller-Halauer will call the meeting to order.
Good afternoon. And on this wonderful December 12th, 2024 or December 17th, sorry, it's not the 12th, December 17th, 2024 meeting. It is 1:10. I'd like to call this meeting of the Nevada Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing Subcommittee for the Technical Assistance to order. Abigail, would you please call roll?
Absolutely. Chairwoman Michelle Fuller-Hellauer,
Present.
Vice Chair Brooke Page,
Present.
Karen Van Hest, Austin Pollard, Dr. Pamela Janelle,
Present.
Chris Murphy,
Present.
Lorena Limis, Christy Costa, Kimberly Martin, Adrian Babbitt,
Present.
Julie King.
Present.
Okay, Madam Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the subcommittee members that made today's meeting so that we could have quorum. We will now move to agenda item 2, which is public comment. No action may be taken upon a matter raised until the matter has been specifically added to the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If you're making a public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-611. The ID number is 535-879-329#. We are now open for public comment. Please unmute yourself and state your name for the council. Any public comment? Abigail, did we have any public comments sent in?
There is none.
Okay. Seeing no public comment, hearing none, we will go ahead and close this item. Move on to agenda item number 3 for possible action. Discussion and possible approval of the minutes for October 15th, 2024. I believe that the minutes were attached to your agenda, your not the agenda, your appointment
Invitation.
notice in your calendar. So if there's no discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes from October.
Adrian, I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please unmute yourself and indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please unmute yourself and indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 4, discussion and possible approval of minutes for November 19th, 2024. Any discussion? If none, I will entertain a possible motion.
This is Julie King for the record. Motion to approve the November 19th, 2024 minutes.
This is Brooke. I
Chris?
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those that approve, unmute yourself and indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please unmute yourself and indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions?
Dr. Janelle, I abstain as I was not present.
Thank you. Motion carries. Agenda item number 5, an update from the meeting with the chair and vice chair of the ICHH Technical TA and the ICHH councils regarding the direction on how to move forward with the strategic plan. Brooke, do you want me to give this update, or would you like to give this update?
Yeah, you can go and I can fill it in. If there's anything I can.
Okay. Since we have met last, Brooke and I have both have had meetings with the chair and co-chair of, or co-chair and vice chair, I can't speak today, of the ICHH. And just for reminder's sake, we have regular meetings on the calendar for us to meet with the chair and vice chair, just to make sure that we are in alignment, that we understand what our direction is, and that they are kept apprised of the work that we are doing, and can give guidance as appropriate and as they wish. So with that, we had talked with them about where we were with the strategic plan, how we had brought forward the 3 top items from each strategic issue. This was back in September, October area. And we were asked at that point to narrow those down. So that brought us to what, 24? We were told that we needed to narrow that down to 3. So, and we pushed back a bit, and we're like, it was kind of hard to narrow it down to the top 3 for the 8 strategic issues that we have. But we were also reminded that there is a lot that takes place at the state and the state legislative level, and that in order to really make headway, that we needed to consider the core action steps that would really make a ripple effect, that would as we move forward. So what are the things that would align with the governor's priorities and that would really help move the needle as we are moving our work forward? So doesn't mean that we need to scrap the strategic plan, because we don't. Everything on the strategic plan is important. The action steps are all important, but highlighting some 3 top issues to move forward to the governor and the legislature. So that being said, that we've had some conversation around that and what that looks like. Brooke, what do you want to add to that?
Thank you, Chair. Brooke, for the record. I think that was a good summary, and I think the genesis behind the reason why we even kind of wanted to bring this forward to the leadership of the ICHH was, we've done a lot of great work as a subcommittee, as a technical assistance working group, to get to where we are with the various amount of action items that we have. It's very robust. And there's a need, obviously, based on even the socializing that has been done at the Leveling Up conference that happened in homelessness conference in Nevada. There was folks who felt like they didn't even know that there was a state action plan being developed to end homelessness, or that the Interagency Council existed. And the thought process was to sort of elevate to the larger Interagency Council that, there's a need to socialize more what has been developed. We feel like we've done a really great job with the limited capacity that a lot of us have with our day jobs and the existing work that we have. But there's a need to possibly get some additional consulting support, or some, an independent entity that can come and take this, to finalization, get it to be a packaged action plan, and something that could sort of be made public, and also shop it around to our urban, rural, frontier communities and ensure we've done our due diligence with making sure people are aware of it. And so that is what's also led to, yes, we want to finalize the work that we've done, and we also want to move forward with action. And there is an opportunity with the Interagency Council where they are willing to sort of take 3 of our ideas and start actioning them on their agenda at their level. So that way we could sort of be moving forward in addition to packaging our action plan. So I think those 2 deliverables coming out of this work group is a huge win. And so hats off just to everybody, all of just the work and everything that's been involved, because it's been slow and steady, but being consistent and moving us to this point, I think it's going to help us in 2025 get the leadership buy-in that we need to elevate the issues that come from our recommendations, hopefully today, and ensure that the Interagency Council is leveraging their decision-making authority, their power to move along the things that we think are most important that they should be focusing on. So that's all I'd add to that, Michelle.
Thank you, Brooke. Adrian?
Hey, just a question about whether there was any discussion about reconvening the communications working group. I did not see that as a action item on tomorrow's agenda, but I think you were going to bring it up that we felt like that was valuable, but I'm not sure if Brooke, when you're talking about making sure it's socialized, if that was part of the conversation.
So from my perspective, Brooke, for the record, no, we didn't speak specifically about their structure as an entity and kind of why certain committees were decommissioned and why some of them are actioned. But I think us having an opportunity, one, with this forum, to have agendizing conversations with the chairs of the committee, we can sort of be documenting what are the things that we need to be talking about with them so they can put it on their agenda. What are things that we need to be talking about with us that we're working on so it could be a part of our agenda? I think that's the forum that we have that ability to do that, Adrian. And so I make a recommendation that that be something that we follow up with the chairs about, is these decommissioned committees, because one of them was policy, and we're going into a legislative session without a policy committee. So those are things that, are really should be. It was a part of the statute that created the Interagency Council, the rationale of why they're decommissioned, what would it take to bring them back. And it was hard to get a quorum with this working group. So I'm sure that some of those things play a factor, but I think it's worth the conversation.
Other questions or comments? The next 2 agenda items kind of will tie back to what we've talked about in this agenda item as well. So, anything else on this agenda item? Any questions for Brooke or myself? Or comments?
How
This
often
is
does
Chris.
the regular, oh, I'm so sorry, Chris.
Oh, you're good. I was just wondering, how are we going to pick those 3 items? That's all.
That's a great question, Chris, and we will talk about that under agenda item number 7. Adrian?
Yeah, can you remind me, how often does the council meet, and how often do the chair and co-chair of this group meet with them?
Brooke and I meet with the chair and co-chair monthly, and the ICHH, I think they meet quarterly. Is that correct? I have to defer to Homelessness to Home team.
What was the question, Chairwoman?
How often does the AA council meet?
They have to meet at least 4 times a year.
Can you clarify, they have to meet with a quorum at 4 times a year, or they have to attempt to meet regardless of if quorum is obtained?
They have to attempt to meet at least 4 meetings a year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close this agenda item and move on to agenda item 6. Update on the survey results from the 2024 Nevada Youth Homeless Summit. So you all know that we were invited to speak at the Nevada Youth Homeless Summit. And unfortunately, I had a family crisis, so I was not able to speak myself. And thankfully, Adrienne was available and was able to pitch it for me. And she stepped up and did a phenomenal job. So thank you, Adrienne. I really, really appreciate it. What we did is we were in a session collaboratively with SEI, who was doing a presentation on the youth experiencing the LGBTQIA plus youth experiencing homelessness study, the statewide study. They were doing a presentation on where things are with that study, and then we're doing presentation on where we are with the state plan. And that was on the heels of mine and Brooks meeting with the chair and vice chair of the ICHH. So took the opportunity to get some feedback from folks at the youth conference on what they thought might be the top 3 issues for youth homelessness, or not youth homelessness, I'm sorry, for the action steps that we'd put forward. So in preparation for that presentation, I had set up a poll with all of those, what was it, 24 action steps. We combined a few of them, so I think it ended up being 21 action steps, and asked them to prioritize the action steps that the folks there felt would be that they felt were most important. Just to kind of get a sense, right? Felt we had some folks there, a captured audience, just kind of getting a sense. Because my personal thought is that even though we are driving this work, that we shouldn't do the work in a vacuum. And nor do I think that they are the only folks that we should get input from, but I felt it was a captive audience. So Adrienne, when she did the presentation, she also conducted that poll. Adrienne, do you want me to go ahead and talk about the results of the poll, or do you want me to pass it over to you to talk about how the presentation went and the poll?
No, I didn't ever get a copy of the poll results, so if you could just continue.
Okay, will do. So the top, I'm going to actually tell you the top 6 results. So the top in ranking order. So the top result was identify permanent funding sources. And then that was followed by develop multi-sector housing ecosystem, prioritize developments that build deeply affordable units, capacity building on reentry and diversion programs, implement requirements and incentives to developers for deeper subsidies, and incorporate lived experience and justice into governance, program development, and operations of services. So those were the top 6 that, you know, that they ranked. They also gave some feedback as far as some things that they felt had been missing. So I felt that that was something that we should probably share with you all. They, in the broad survey, now some of these things are actually in our broader steps, but essentially ways to connect work, training and action, dedicated resources and constant communication, funding, affordable housing, voting commission members into office who will vote to allow more multifamily units to be built, landlord engagement, move outreach, how we can support and reach out to elected officials to help the city get more funding and grants, communication between Nevada's North and South, effective interagency collaboration, including incorporating disproportionately impacted subpops, housing that fits the populations that need it, sharing data even in the HMIS system, action. It's great to have a plan, but where's the action? Education of shelters and legislators, lack of training and knowledge and knowing how to communicate with deaf communities. There's no advocates. Comprehensive strategies to utilize new supportive housing funds, case managers. So those are some things that they indicated were missing. Now, a few of those things are already in the broader other action steps that we have, and a few of those aren't. So those might be some things for us to consider as we continue to flesh out the broader action plan.
Hey, Michelle.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to clarify, this is Adrienne. That feedback was received from the Level Up conference.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And not from the youth conference, I
My
believe.
bad.
Okay,
Thank you
I
for
just want
that.
to make sure that that was clarified.
Mm.
Because I think we did discuss that in our October meeting.
I apologize and thank you for that clarification. Strike that.
Okay. Well, don't strike it. It's still good to consider it, but just to clarify, that did not come from the youth conference.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Pam.
Dr. Pam Janelle for the record. Thank you. That information is very salient and useful. And with regards to the Level Up conference that was headed by the Nevada Alliance, me being the NDE person, I did also ask to be connected to help planning in the future to add more educational components to the conference structure. But I'm also very grateful though that ICHH was represented at not only the Nevada Alliance or the State Homeless Conference, but then also NPHY. I will tell you that my daughter actually stepped up and she was my +1 for the NPHY youth conference. And they gave some very good feedback with regards to level of awareness. So I think this lends itself to all of the results that were shared. Knowing that this was a person in college and doing restorative justice, she said that, Mom, I never, when you worked on homelessness, I only saw it from an adult perspective, but never from how much it impacts youth, because some youth cannot access the resources like adults could. If they're underage, someone else is making those decisions for them. So I just wanted to add that to everything else that was shared and said, because now that we have this information, we can definitely, like our chairwoman and everyone else has mentioned, really look at fine tuning some of the initiatives that or action steps that are being, conceptualized and prioritized with all of our strategic issues. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Pam. Anything else? Adrienne, did I miss anything?
I don't
or
think
misspeak
so.
on anything else.
Just a comment that after the youth conference, there was also a presentation given to the combined COC. Same presentation that updated on the 21 action items.
Any questions, concerns, comments?
This is Brooke for the record. Michelle, it would be helpful to have this visually for me. Like I hear the feedback, but to see it prioritized and sort of what the feedback was at the various different convenings, especially as we are considering what we should prioritize as a working group. Like it would be helpful just to kind of see that maybe in a way that we could visually cross-check our gut reaction when we decide what we're moving forward with and in relation to the feedback that we're getting from the community.
Okay. Abigail, do you have this Excel spreadsheet with the listing of the polls?
No, we have not received that file.
Okay, then I will send it to you right now and then ask you to send it to the subgroup.
Will do. Thank you.
Hey,
This is
Michelle, this is
Crystal.
Adrian. Oh, sorry. Boy,
Sorry,
boy,
Adrian.
the two of us are having a like dance on who gets their microphone first. Go ahead.
I was just when Dr. Janelle was talking, she reminded me because we're focusing where I work. We have a lot of adult homeless, but she brought me back to when I was a high school teacher, and it always amazed me how many of my high school students were homeless. And as we look at this, I think that that's really important to remember. That's all.
This is Adrian. I was just going to ask Michelle, I think you covered the top 6. Were you also going to cover the top 3 of the 6, or is that something for further discussion? Or if you did mention it, then I missed it. I'm sorry.
The top 3 were identify permanent funding sources, develop multi-sector housing ecosystem, and prioritize developments that build deeply affordable units.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Julie King for the record. What exactly is meant by multi-sector? Now I don't remember the rest of it. The multi-sector housing development ecosystem thing? Yeah. What does that mean exactly?
So Michelle, if I could speak to this one, because this is
Please
super close to my work. This is Brooke for the record. So we have a very, I would say, kind of siloed systems in our sectors, various different across whatever domain that all serve populations that have folks experiencing homelessness. And by bringing those sectors together to leverage funding sources, leverage subject matter experts and folks that are, working across, populations that may be interfacing with multiple sectors. But until you bring those sectors together to really do data matching or have a conversation about those intersections, they always operate in silos. And so a multi-sector strategy, a multi-sector plan provides an opportunity where you're having those cross-sector conversations about the populations, about strategy, about leveraging, and sort of really thinking about it as a holistic, because you may be working with a whole family, and the child may be in the child welfare system. There may be a parent in the justice system. There may be another parent getting services from the adult social service system. But until those systems actually are working together, we're not going to address the needs of that household. So it's that multi-sector strategy to kind of
Okay,
be a
so
plan.
things by sectors, like things like you said, the child welfare system, maybe the adult welfare system, healthcare,
Yeah.
like hospitals, institutions, things like that. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Kind of thinking about it more broadly.
Okay. Thank you.
Pam.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, Brooke, thank you for helping clarify that multi-sector aspect, because that is something that when looking back at these strategic issues, that wraparound services component is so valuable, and it lends itself to like all of the other aspects. And I do appreciate the fact that our group is also focusing on how we can be more policy driven in order to, address, homelessness to housing in a multi-sector, way. And thank you for once again definitely speaking to how, the operation is in silos, but now it needs to be more innovative and more integrated, and more holistic. I totally agree with that. So I'm excited to see what our group is going to continue to do with regards to getting us to that particular point, because I truly believe that can happen, because it must happen.
Yeah, agreed. And just to piggyback on that, Brooke, for the record, I know that we've got, and I'm so glad to see that we've got representation from a few of our sectors on the call, but there's like conversations when you think about older adults and even our aging population and the needs of that growing population, that are retiring, growing population experiencing homelessness. If there's not a concerted focus on addressing even just the subset of older adults in this context and the needs for that population and how they interface in all of these different sectors, we could be leaving people behind. And so that multi-sector plan, even on aging, is another area where, we could be addressing these issues too.
All right. Anything else on this item? Questions, concerns, comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next item where we take some action. Okay, agenda item number 7. Update from champions regarding progress in drafting their assigned portions of the strategic plan. And let's discuss and possible action regarding our next steps with the strategic plan. So this specifically, let's talk about I guess action item number 9 was actually where we would talk about the 3 action steps. I got ahead of myself. Okay, so let's talk about our action plan. So do we have any updates on our action plan and where we are with the broader plan? Yeah.
Dr. Pam Janelle, for the record, I have a question. I did get an opportunity to fill out the spreadsheet. Has this migrated over into another document? And if so, my spam may have eaten it. So I want to just be sure that I'm up to date with where I'm supposed to document things. Please advise. Thank you.
That is a great question. Abigail, can you guide us on where the most recent updated action plan is?
Yes, Madam Chair, I am trying to pull up that file. Give me 1 second.
And Dr. Pam Janelle, again, for the record, just so y'all know, I'm a little offended because I was very proud of my little PowerPoint that I produced, but then y'all made me reduce my cute graphics to an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not bitter, I'm just better. Thank you. But no, and I do want to add, your support has been awesome. And Dr. McCauley and I, we've been meeting and discussing some things. So I'm really excited about that. So thank you all for your support during this process.
Dr. Janelle, don't get rid of that PowerPoint because we may need it later when we actually start rolling out what all those action steps mean. So we may need to pull that out of the archives when we start doing presentations about the action plan. So don't get rid of that PowerPoint.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, Madam Chairwoman, I am so totally honored, but I will be calling on all of you amazingly talented people who know how to do really cute stuff in Canva and stuff to help me elevate my skill set.
Okay, Abigail, is this your screen that we're looking at?
That's Carlea sharing, yes.
Right.
Okay, and as we are as everybody's information been included into this one document?
Yes, that's everything that we received from the committee.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I did help wrap around out for a little bit, but then I had to go and skedaddle over to Education and Workforce Development. So I didn't get to put the little pretty, what do you call them, the bullet points in mine. So my apologies, but anyone who has like skills in putting bullet points into Excel, please feel free to do that for my section. Thank you.
Abigail, would you mind scrolling down to make sure that we have information filled out in that F column for all sections?
Dr. Pam Janelle, for the record again. Okay, come through, ICHHTA, come through. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Okay, what I thought I saw was good job, everybody. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Okay, so it looks like we've got some sections And we had talked before about there's some things that might need to be combined with other sections. Some things might belong in other sections. And I did see goal 4 under prevention and intervention. Looked like it didn't have anything in it, and I'm not quite sure why, what the thought process was there.
Michelle, this is Adrienne. I was the newly appointed champion for that section, and at the time when I was convening individuals and working on inputting the strategies, our working group only got through the first 3. And then there was a decision by this body to just take what we had and run with it because we felt like we were going to have to pare down. And so I did not reconvene the group to include information into item number 4.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Dr. Pam Janelle, for the record, I'm more than happy to lend one of my components from education and workforce development to that. We can add the, because we do actually now have a vendor selected for the statewide homeless app and a few other bullet points we can put in there because we're also developing Canvas educational shells and a few other items, as well as my involvement. And I know there's some other people in this group who are involved with the Disconnected Youth Coalition. So there are some instruments that are being built that will increase awareness as well as training as well. That would also, cross over into this area of prevention and intervention. If that's okay with you, Adrienne, we can get together and we can get that filled out if you would like.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. I think there's some other things, with other outreach that probably needs to be included in this as well. And we can talk about how we need to get that information from the COCs because, outreach is being done, throughout the 3 COCs. So, and it's different, right? It's different in the urban areas than it is in the rural areas. And I think it's different in the larger urban area than it is in, the Reno, Washoe, Sparks area. So I think that we do need to get some feedback from the COCs on what their needs are as far as outreach regarding prevention and intervention. So,
Madam Chairwoman, Dr. Janelle, for the record, I really do appreciate that you adding that perspective. And I think also your suggestion among other members mentioning when we look at this, we can also see where we can move and migrate some items because I think we have so much great stuff here and adding the perspective you just talked about, that's going to really just make this very well-rounded. Thank you very much for that because that jogged my memory too when you mentioned the COCs.
all right. And again, as I indicated, I think that we had started some conversation at one meeting previously, I don't even remember when it was, about some things that might be in one area or one strategic area, an action item in one strategic area that might possibly do better or make more sense to be in a different strategic area. And then we were getting really in the weeds of that during this meeting and then ran out of time. And then I think we just kind of lost the thread of that. So I don't want to lose sight of doing that. I think that that's something that we need to do as we move forward with this plan. I know that we all have a lot of work on our plates outside of this meeting, so I would just like to have some conversation about how do we move forward with addressing this plan and kind of cleaning it up in the absence of having a third party to currently take the plan and do some of that cleanup and move things around. Do we want a subgroup to get together and work on that? Do we want to just set aside a good part of a meeting to just focus in on that? You know, how do we want to move forward so that we can identify specifically, you know, where action steps actually belong within this plan?
This is Chris for the record. And I'm just jumping in because I had the opportunity to review the entire plan this morning, so it's fairly fresh in my head. And fortunately, most of those comments have been captured in comment section down the side of the plan on the possibilities of moving things to a different section. And so I think instead of just having a small group do it, maybe since it is impacting other people's plans, if we just went through those as a group in one of our meetings, and so we could all agree on, yes, that makes sense, let's move that there, and let's see, in that way we're not stepping on anybody's toes. That's my only suggestion.
Other thoughts?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I anticipate people will step on my toes, and that's okay because I can dance pretty quick. But I would be leaning and relying on this group to definitely see some things that I don't see, just as I learn from you all every day. So I do agree with Mr. Murphy's suggestion as well. If it ain't broke, don't break it.
Adrian?
Yes, we had previously discussed and made those recommendations, but that was the meeting that we did not have quorum. Is there a way to finalize those previous comments today and say, like, you know, if folks have reviewed the comments, like, can we just finalize that and then look at an updated version of the plan to then revise more? I don't know if that's something that we can do in the way that the agenda is structured.
Uh, let's see. Well, we do have discussion and possible action regarding next steps with the strategic plan. So I think that would be next steps with the strategic plan. So I'm thinking that we probably could, if everybody has had an opportunity to review those comments and would like to make a motion to accept the adjustments to move those particular steps to those particular areas in the plan, and then we can pick up from there, identifying that we didn't get through the whole plan when we were doing that work previously.
Is that the agenda item that we're on right now?
It is.
Okay. So then, knowing that that this is still going to be a draft for a while, do folks feel like they have reviewed the comments that have been made or need more time? Because I think that was done, I want to say 3 meetings ago, but that could be incorrect.
What do them folks think?
I think we also need to consider, I don't know what the timeliness of getting the top 3 core items that we want the Interagency Council of Homelessness to focus on, getting that information to them, what that timeline is. But if that's fairly urgent, especially with the legislation section preparing for that this year, I think that drilling down and finalizing the whole plan may delay that. And so that's the question I have is there a limit on how long we have to get the top 3 core items?
That's a great point and a great question, Chris. Brooke, do you remember, were we given a suggested timeline for getting those top 3 items?
I don't recall getting, Brooke, for the record, sorry. I don't recall getting a timeline more so than them suggesting 3. And because we're going into a legislative session, that's always puts, I think, a strain on folks' capacity too. So, I think the thought was it'd be good to start the year off with possibly having a standing topic related to the action plan. That we could sort of maybe the first one is just we present on work we've done. And then maybe we come back to them at their next quarterly meeting and present on the ideas of what are the 3 that we want to move forward with. But if we are kind of executing and moving forward with saying that the action plan needs to be a topic that the Interagency Council is discussing and agendizing, then at least it gives us a forum to have these conversations and move something along. So that would be my thought.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I do agree with what Brooke is saying, because then that way it gives the work that we've done and that we are going to do a little bit more teeth, and it increases that matter of awareness that we definitely need. And then this will definitely help lead us to more of the space of moving a lot of these items into more of an actionable space with regards to creation of policy and legislation.
This is Brooke, for the record. I would, though, like to see this in a different format. I think it would be easier to read and digest this if it was more succinct. And so I'm wondering if I can make a recommendation here to maybe take this document and get it into a more digestible format that would give us a way that we can socialize it so folks know what we're working on. Because it feels difficult to read in this kind of format for me, but that's just my opinion. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I I do like the Excel spreadsheet with regards to bringing all of our items together. And one of my experiences that I had working with the Council for Food Security, we took everything from like a spreadsheet format and we moved it into like maybe a Word document with some tables. And so I would be curious to know what the rest of this committee would think about maybe migrating the information, like Brooke suggested, into a different format, and we can decide on what that would be, because then that way we could literally look at each component and take those comments into consideration and kind of like really build out and standardize the way the information is presented. I would love to hear everyone's feedback on that because, of course, I'm not the end all be all expert. I'm here to glean and learn.
Michelle Fuller, Hollauer for the record. Brooke, can you talk a little bit more about what you think might make it more digestible?
Well, I like Brooke for the record. I like Dr. Janelle's recommendation of like migrating it to a Word document. I was thinking more of like almost like this Excel spreadsheet gives us sort of like the raw, this is what the work groups have come up with. I think it needs maybe that next layer of synthesizing. And you know, there's something missing in terms of context of like, who owns this, what is the action decision making entity that would need to take on this action, when would this action need to be taken into account. And so if there was some way to sort of summarize what's in this very large Excel spreadsheet with some sort of categorized areas of that, I don't know, it just feels like it needs like a next layer of information to me.
Adrian?
Hi, Adrian here. I feel like if timing is an issue, that could be done like with our top 3 identified items, to talk about like, what, like, here's the plan of action, here's a couple of things that maybe, would need to be done in order to see this happen, or like sort of flesh it out a little bit more. I think it would be more difficult and time consuming if we were to do that for every bullet point and every goal and every strategic issue, unless we were using like an AI tool or something and just like plugging all of this content in and like say, please summarize this.
Pam?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, everyone is bringing up really great valid points. One of the things that I would definitely say is I would love for this document to be like a report that we could literally like deliver. But I think what Brooke and as well as Adrian speaks to is like the evolution of the work, because this is a really great cornerstone and set point. But then now we're like, okay, who is going to help us move this forward? Like, for instance, are like, for let's just, for an example, for education and workforce development, would one of the primary accountability partners be the Nevada Department of Education, or and then like maybe list out who does what, and then also tie it to our existing legislation that we have, so that we can also inform like what other legislation or policy needs to be developed in order to carry it out. So this would just be now a matter of, yes, this could be a priority point, like maybe moving this to like a workable document that we could actually present, but then also work off of, in as the work evolves. Because I can see where, attacking it from like the content component, versus like the evolutionary component, those items are both needed. Now it's a matter of deciding how we go about doing that.
Michelle Fuller, Hollauer for the record. So question, are we ready to take this to the next level, or can we do that simultaneously with shifting action steps to the appropriate strategic issues?
Brooke, for the record, I think it's a both and. Like, we can elevate our priorities to the Interagency Council while our work hopefully continues as this Interagency Council's TA work group and fleshing out the actions, plan. And there might be even things that are like the 3 priorities may even feed into these other priorities too. So I think it could be an opportunity for us to address both and.
So another question then, Brooke, were you volunteering to take a stab at shifting this into another format, or were you just making a statement?
Dang, for the record, did I say that? But I wouldn't mind, only because I brought it up, I wouldn't mind trying to like reorganize it in a way that I could sort of, and also my eyes too, I think it's a little small. So maybe that's where I get, but I wouldn't mind taking it and reorganizing it.
Didn't say you
Dr.
necessarily had to do it. I was just asking if that's what you were saying you were volunteering to do, or if you were just saying it should be done.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, that laugh, just so you know, Chairwoman needs to be its own ringtone, one. Second of all, if we have like an existing template that we could move this into, that might be very helpful. I don't know if any of you on this call has like a template that you use for your documents. That might be something that would be helpful. And then we can probably even put a little ICHHTA logo on it, so that way they know it's us who's doing the work. And I do appreciate both of your questions, Chairwoman and Ms. Page, in terms of asking for a friend. I appreciate that.
This is Chris for the record, and I just had one suggestion, and that is, I think we're at a point when you read down what the potential action item list is, separate from the comments and the goals that they're attached to, there's a lot of redundancy. And I think that if we just started with the potential action item list and kind of grouped everything together and then married it back possibly later on back to the goals, that way we can get everything that belongs together and tie it back to the goals that we originally started with. But that way we can remove some of the redundancy of the document. And I think it will end up being a lot cleaner, and everything will naturally fall into the categories where they need to fall into. That's all I got.
Well said, Chris. I think that's kind of where we're trying to get at with moving the action steps to where they actually belong. But you said it very well, so thank you very much. So, Brooke, it sounds like you have at least have a format in mind that we could use.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
maybe if you could get us started with a format and maybe do some samples at least between now and our next meeting, then maybe some of us can jump in and help you out.
Great. I like
Maybe that would be a good way for us to start with this process.
Great, thank you.
How does that sound to folks?
Sounds good to me.
In the meantime, I would highly suggest that if I think I heard, if I haven't, then I'm going to put this out here as a directive. Ms. Abigail, if you would send the most updated recent action plan spreadsheet to the rest of the technical assistance group so that everybody has it. If we can get eyes on it between now and our next meeting, think about go through it. I'd review the things that we've already talked about moving and shifting, and identify which other things you think should be shifted and where you think they should be shifted to, so that when we have a conversation, we can move through that conversation very quickly. And then I think that as we do that, in conjunction with what Brooke suggested, with reformatting, putting it into, a different context, then I think that maybe that will help us, move things forward, and we'll feel like we're making some progress.
Yes,
How's that?
We will resend the file, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Thank you. How's that sound to the rest of the group?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right.
I'm all in.
All right. I'm getting thumbs up. So, okay. So with that, any other suggestions, ideas, comments on this item? Okay, then at this point, and given that I know that Mr. Murphy needs to leave at 2:30, I would like to use my chair abilities to skip to agenda item 9 and discuss, and then we'll come back to 8. But I would like to discuss and possible action regarding the subcommittee and attendees proposed top 3 action items for the ICHH to consider prioritizing over the next year. So I'd like to talk about what that looks like and how we will get to those top 3 items. Because I think that is the natural next part of the conversation that we need to have. So I'd like to just roll into that conversation if we can. So any ideas, suggestions on how we get to those top 3 prioritized action items?
This is Brooke for the record. I'm wondering if we should do have each member submit their top 3 and see, where does that land, and if there's a lot of the same similar top 3s, like maybe then, we kind of use that as a baseline to maybe do a vote and take it to a vote based off of what comes from all the committee members.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, Brooke, thank you very much for that suggestion. This also lends itself to the suggestion that Mr. Murphy had earlier about taking a look at what we have in the spreadsheet and then like seeing which ones, we can actually combine. So I think this is a good stair-step process to get to that point. Because me, I will like throw the spaghetti at the wall and be like, I want everything. But this is where I'm looking forward to getting the comments from other group members with regards to the information I've put in the spreadsheet, because that feedback to me will help inform, what I want to put forward as the top 3.
Adrian?
Can you share if there's a timeline on when we want to have the top 3 identified and whether it's this group voting or whether we're taking feedback from stakeholders, community members? Like, Are we voting on this today?
We don't necessarily need to vote on this today. We need to decide a strategy on how we're going to get there today. And we weren't given a timeline per se on when we need to have those top three, but we do need to get to them, and I think sooner rather than later. But it doesn't need to be today.
This is Adrienne again. Do we need to identify a strategy for how those action items will be pursued? Like if we said like identify permanent funding sources, right? Like that was the top one that came from the youth. I would hazard a guess that it's likely going to be a top one for many people. Do we need to say like, here's how we consider doing that? Or can we just say like, we identify the goal is to identify permanent funding sources? Now, as the council, go forth and do that.
This is Brooke for the record. I think I appreciate your question, Adrienne, and I think we were identified as a committee, as a technical assistance committee, to sort of provide these recommendations based off of our due diligence of doing, having various different forums that we have given this information. And we've gotten some feedback from surveys. We've had working group sessions where we've gathered the intel that we've received. I think that's kind of where we've elevated kind of to our capacity what we have been able to do. And I think us then synthesizing from what we've heard and what we know from our various different backgrounds and the conversation that we've had with community, I think this is sort of synthesizing from all of our different walks of life. These are our recommendations. And then us voting as a group to then elevate that to the next level of the interagency council to then, agendize and move forward with their thoughts about that. To me, because of the work that we've done over the last 2+ years, kind of compiling this information, I think to me justifies our ability to sort of make these recommendations, in my opinion.
Thank you.
This is Chris for the record. I was just wondering if it would be possible if we did 5. And that way, when we come back together to discuss it, we would have an opportunity to whittle that list down by 2 to get to our top 3. Because each of our views, just because of our life experiences, what's important is going to be a little bit different. And I don't want to, I'm afraid that I may misjudge what is actually, once I hear input from the rest of the team, what is crucially important and will actually make a bigger impact, because I think that's what all of us are trying to do, is how can we make the biggest impact moving forward. That's my suggestion.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, these are all really great suggestions. And I think if each of us takes like maybe the top 1 from all of the strategic issues and then maybe whittle it down to the 5 and then to the 3 along the lines of what Mr. Murphy recommends, I think that would be good, because then that way we will get those top 3, but then we would also have then set in place like those other issues that each group can coalesce around all of the others to start either combining or putting together or addressing singularly based on how well we do at the top 3. What do you all think? Because that way we're giving attention to all of the strategic issues, but then we're creating a priority set list and an order, and we're moving the work forward at the same time.
For the record, I really appreciate that recommendation, and I like the fact that Chris even talking about the importance of 5 to get to 3, but I hear you in terms of, do we prioritize each strategic issue first? Is what I hear you saying, and then from there prioritizing the top 5, so that way it doesn't feel like we're only focusing on one strategic issue. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying.
Yeah, this is Dr. Janelle, and because I'm looking at it in terms of like equity to make sure we at least get our top number ones from each strategic issue so that we can continue to be mindful of, those other areas that we can all as a group support moving forward while we focus on those top 3. I don't know if I'm making sense. I know some of y'all speak Pan, so pray for me if I've confused you all thoroughly.
Adrian?
Michelle, yeah, thank you. Do you still have that poll handy? Like, is that poll still exist as like usable?
It wasn't my my poll, but I have the questions from the poll, yes.
I just wondered if maybe utilizing that poll among the members might be a way for us to identify, because I think several of those, like the 21 items, some of them were multiple strategic issues, right? So I think there was one of them that went across 3. So if the poll is identified which strategic issue, like maybe just being mindful not to pick all strategic issue number 5, right? Unless you really feel strongly that those are your top 3, So that, I think I like the idea of picking our top 5 out of that poll and then seeing, what the top ones are, and then having conversation and discussion with this group to identify the top 3.
I have a question and then a suggestion, but I want to give everybody else an opportunity to get their thoughts out there.
This is Julie King for the record. I kind of feel like, we do have this poll, right, where folks in the community have identified their top issues. And it seems like we should be using those and kind of narrowing them down to the top 3 instead of us choosing as a group which things we want to focus on. Let's look at what the community is saying should be focused on.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I think that is a great way to use the information we already have. And then maybe once so those top 6, I think it was, items, maybe focus on those and then start bringing in some of the other ones, as we continue to move. But I think that is a good way to go because we do have this information already. And so that way we're continuing to move forward instead of just kind of circling the drain per se. So thank you for that, for the reminder about that poll that we have. We should use that information because we did get it.
Other thoughts or comments? Okay, I would like, Michelle Fuller, hello for the record. I would like to put out a question and a thought. Similar to what Julie was saying and Dr. Janelle, but I want to kind of put it broader than that. why are we trying to make a decision for the whole state when we have experts in the community that we have access to? And anything that we put forward as a recommendation is going to impact the people that are doing the work and the people that they serve. The poll that we have is a small subset. And we have technology and we have access to technology. So why not take the poll? So this, my suggestion is, why not take the poll that we have, that we've already created, and shoot it out to our COCs and our providers and people that are experiencing homelessness, and get their feedback and let them help us determine from our top 21, 24 action steps that we all determined from the 8 strategic issues, and ask them to rank and then bring that back to us. And then we can look at what the results are from the COCs, the providers, and the people that they serve. And then we can say then, as a technical assistance committee, this is what the state says. This is what the people in the community are saying are our top 3 issues that we need to focus on.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, ooh, Michelle Fuller-Hillauer, that is why you are chairwoman. I appreciate all of that, all of the things. You did bring up a good point. It was a small subset of individuals that did provide the information, but yes, we do serve the whole state, so we should ask the whole state. So thank you for that.
And Julie King, for the record. So it sounds like Dr. Janelle was kind of seconding that. So I'm going to third that. And say that I think that that is a wonderful idea, and would agree with moving forward with that.
What do other people think?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, is that poll able to be expanded to where we can like either insert email addresses? Is it still active to where we can just continue to gather information? Or do we have to add a few things? For instance, like, maybe identifiers like, are you a COC member? Are you a community-based organization? Just something general like that, so that we can also see where the responses are coming from while protecting privacy. I'm just asking. Or do we just send it out as is?
That's a great question. The poll was actually done in a slideshow, so we would actually have to create it in like an actual poll or
okay,
one of those things. But we can work with Abigail and her team, Carlia and her team to get that poll together. So we can ask that. We can ask, are you a person with lived experience? Are you a service provider? Are you a COC leadership? We can ask those types of things if that's valuable information to have, or not, right? If we don't need that information, we don't need to ask that information. But if that's the route we go.
Thank you. I was just only asking because I, didn't see the poll to know like what the questions were, but I know that information is going to be shared with us. Thank you. This is Dr. Janelle, for the record.
So what do other folks think about the idea of doing a broad poll going out to other folks across the state?
This is Brooke, for the record. I think that it's important to get a broad perspective on the work. I hear you say strategic issue, but I was thinking that we were working on the action items that are a lot more detailed than the strategic issue. So are we polling the whole strategic issue and asking for folks to prioritize, or the action items?
The top, I think it was 21 or 24 action items.
Okay. So then folks would rank all 24 of those action items.
So we would have those action items and we would ask them to rank them.
Okay.
But what we would do is identify which strategic issue those action items address. Because some of those action items actually address multiple strategic issues. For example, identify permanent funding sources actually were identified in strategic issue 1, 5, and 8. There were a couple others, I think, that were in multiple. I don't remember which ones, but there were a couple others, I think, that were in more than one. Coordination of data and sharing, data sharing for all programs were in strategic issues 5 and 6.
This is Brooke for the record. I think that there's a need, I think, to present to a larger, broad range of the community to get perspective on the work. And I think that there's things that we know in this field of things that should be prioritized, of like important issues that are keeping and moving the needle on addressing homelessness. And so to a certain degree, I'm wondering if the surveys could scale, because I think that there's things that require, just conversations with the COC and processes internally that could, maybe low hanging fruit that we may not want to sort of elevate or need folks to give feedback on those things. But there's might be some really important politically dynamic issues that is worth getting multiple perspectives, getting, multiple feedback from different diverse groups throughout the state. To me, that would be more meaningful to get input on than some things that are just process improvement areas within our field. And so I'm wondering if I guess to my point, I'm trying to like figure out, is all of the information necessary to get synthesized, or are we really wanting there to be certain areas that we want feedback on?
That's a great point. And I think if I'm understanding you correctly, are you suggesting, so forgive me, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you were saying, Brooke. Are you suggesting that we possibly have a meeting with the COCs to maybe talk through these top issues and identify which ones that are COC related that they could address that don't necessarily need to be prioritized to be elevated as a potential action step to be elevated
I mean,
during this
possibly,
process?
Brooke, for the record, I mean, this is a statewide plan. And if there's things in this plan that technically a local jurisdiction or a local COC is really the only entity that can impact that issue, is it really important for it to be in a statewide plan? I think that's the next layer of process that I feel like is needed. And if we take this out for the community to prioritize, and there's not much that the state can do to change the things that we're elevating, like, are we setting up folks for disappointment of like another action plan that nothing is going to be done in, when really that there's only certain things that the state can actually act upon? And there needs to be sort of like this next layer of exercise to synthesize what that action is. You know what I mean? Like, who's responsible for that action? So I'm just trying to make sure that when we go back to the community and to people to get feedback, that we're really wanting some substantive feedback that's going to help us move the needle.
This is Adrienne. I have a question. The top 3 items that each champion identified as like their top 3 would, in reflecting on those 21, are those all like under the statewide umbrella, or are any of those like local priorities? Because I feel like of 2 minds of this, right? Because like Brooke said, like we did all have community feedback into the development of these plans. So the community had their, input and has, actively participated in creating these action steps. And it's up to this body now to determine like what to propose to the council. And so do we then need to go back to the community and say, we took all of your action steps and then, summarized it with the top 20. Now we're asking you to whittle it down again. Or do we just like look at it and determine what items should be proposed to the council and what items we could move the needle on at a local level, and then bring that back for further feedback on like strategizing how to do it. So like two paths of action, one to the statewide council and one to the local jurisdictions or COCs.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, Adrienne, you bring up a really good point, but this is where it would definitely take a multi-pronged, multi-level approach to it. And I think that that is good in terms of getting the work to move forward. So I would defer to the team on it simply because we did ask, but I will, full disclosure, the workforce and education development team was like, just me, myself, and I. So that was one of the reasons why I was asking the rest of the team to also look at the strategic issues that were placed there, simply because some of our teams were rather very lean, or it was just like 1 or 2 people because we had some transitions during this process. And then maybe we can definitely go from there. So I would just ask if this group could help with that component, and then, definitely branch off into, the additional groups to get additional feedback. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm not trying to complicate this, but I do want to make sure that we look at this holistically, but then there's more sets of eyes than just, what is, in the spreadsheet with regards to comments and suggestions. That's why I asked for that.
All wonderful comments, wonderful ideas, and wonderful thoughts. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that we all have around this work, and trying to be conscientious of the work that's already been done, and what we're doing moving forward. So, with the discussion that we've had so far, does anybody have any thoughts on what our best course of action is moving forward?
Michelle, this is Adrienne. I think we lost Chris.
Chris, are you still with us, or did you have to leave? looks like he is not signed in anymore. Okay. Do we have suggestions? This item's already open. Do we have suggestions for possible action or for possible movement forward?
This is Brooke for the record. Sorry, I had to go off camera, but I'd like to suggest that we do a few things because it feels like more work is needed. And so maybe if we work on fleshing out the duplication of the work plan and ensuring that we know exactly what areas need to be fleshed, like where the priorities are, and sort of having this document so we can all socialize each of the strategic issues and the action items. And then from there, identifying what would we need to go to the, because you already have a survey. So if we want to get that survey in front of the COCs to distribute, like we could be doing that at the same time, just to be getting further information. But then I also think that we should request to get on the next Interagency Council's agenda when they meet again in the next quarter to present what we've learned and to sort of get them to start agendizing the action plan. So if there was an opportunity for us to sort of do these three things at the same time, knowing that they meet quarterly.
This is Dr. Janelle for the record. That is a great way to tie things up and put a bow on it. And actually, those are the top 3 items right there. Redistribute the survey, present to the ICHH, and then, assist in agendizing some items. So I don't know about y'all, but that sounds pretty good to me. Thank you very much.
In general, how do folks feel about that? Does that give folks in the communities a false sense, as was brought up in previous comments about some of those 21, 24 items that might need to take place within the COCs versus at the state level? Or does that just give some teeth to say, hey, COCs, these are some things that you should focus on?
Dr. Janelle for the record, can both be true?
Potentially.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate that.
I mean,
This is Adrienne. Do we know when the next quarter meeting is scheduled for the committee? Like, is there enough time to clean up the document, eliminate the duplication, have this group meet, and then submit a survey to the community, get those results before the next committee meeting?
their next committee meeting is tomorrow.
It literally is tomorrow.
I know, but the one after that.
Oh.
I don't think they have one scheduled.
Okay.
yet. Abigail, can you confirm that?
The next meeting for the ICHH will be on February 13th of next year.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, if anything, I think that we should, this is Dr. Janelle for the record. Because we now know that the next meeting is February 13th, I think, and this is where we may have to have Madam Chairwoman determine if we need to vote. In the meantime, redistribute the survey to the COCs, prepare a presentation to the ICHH, just the status of the work that we're doing, and then, ask for, in agendizing items as, the results note. So, because that way what happens is it keeps the work moving forward, and we're also informing the ICHH in real time on a quarterly basis of the work that's going on. I would love to hear from the group what they think regarding that.
I'm sorry, can you reiterate what you just said? My brain
Dr.
just like paused.
No, it's okay, because I'm hitting my cool down, slow down. Dr. Janelle, for the record, I recommend well, and I don't know if our group has to vote on it or not. Before the next ICHH meeting, redistribute the survey to the COCs to rank those items. So then that way we have more information. But then in the meantime, present the information. It could be the results, or it may just be an update on the work that we're doing at the next ICHH meeting, along with making recommendations for some items that may become agendized moving forward. This way, we can continue moving the work forward while informing ICHH in real time. We do know that, we have to get feedback from them, but in the meantime, we can also be proactive in saying this is the work that we're doing moving forward around the action steps that were gleaned from the strategic issues. What do y'all think?
This is Adrienne. Thank you for repeating that, and I apologize. I am curious to know if the top 3 needs to be formally voted on by this group before bringing it, given our difficulty obtaining quorum. I would like to see this distributed to the community. That way we, if for whatever reason we cannot formally vote on it, can still have information to present to the council to say, this is what folks, this is what the polls have shown as the top, issues or action items. But if we could get clarification on if a formal vote is needed in order to bring it to the council.
Thank you for reiterating that. This is Dr. Janelle for the record. Thank you for extending that, Adrienne. So that's the question. Do we need to vote on the actions that we are taking in order to continue to take action? Good Lord.
I believe that we would need to vote on the top 3 action items that would go to the ICHH.
So,
However,
Madam
we
Chair,
haven't determined
right.
those items, so we don't have that item to vote on.
So thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Dr. Janelle, for the record. So with that being said, are we able to redistribute the survey to the COCs to have them rank it so that we do know a true top 3, then that we can vote on, but in the interim, still be able to just present a status of what we're doing to the ICHH? Does that make sense? So that way we can continue working, and then the things we do have to formally vote on, we can do so at that time, but in the meantime, still informing ICHH of what we're doing. That's all. I
believe that we can do that.
Okay, I'm just asking for several friends. This way we won't come across the issue of not meeting quorum, but we can still continue in this work because it was already work that we were doing. Thank you so much for clarifying that, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. Any other comments, suggestions, ideas around this item? Okay. I think we have lost quorum. So we can't vote. And we are, which means that agenda item number 8 and 10, I don't think we can conduct business on. Is that correct? And I'm asking for guidance.
Julie King for the record. I think that's correct. I'm not 100% sure on rules, but that sounds right to me.
Thank you, Julie. I was kind of leaning toward my our homeless to home or our DAG, but thank you for thank you for your input. I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, I think that is also correct, but we can confirm Ryan from the DAG is he just left. Sorry about that.
Well, all righty then. Since he just left, does that mean we can just proceed?
I think we need quorum for that to vote.
Sorry, this is Ryan. For whatever reason, my microphone wouldn't turn on, so I had to get off the meeting and then come back. But yeah, no quorum, no action.
Okay. So with that, I think we need to move to agenda item 11. We can do that one, right, Ryan? Because that's for information only?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Sorry about that.
So discussion of agenda items for our next meeting.
Julie King for the record. So I guess it might go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I guess our current agenda items 8 and 10 will need to carry over to the next meeting.
Thank you, Julie.
Brooke, for the record, I will present an updated kind of some examples of ways to present our action plan. This is Adrienne. The next meeting that this group is scheduled for will be the only one before the next council meeting, save tomorrow, right? We're meeting January 21st or something, and then the council will meet February 13th. So that will be, so if we're going to vote on 3 items to bring 3 action steps, like that could be our only opportunity to do it. And, you know, but so that they can consider it in February if they only meet quarterly, you know, unless that's something that can be just brought to the chair. I don't know, all of the things.
Not having quorum though is frustrating. I'll express that.
So what I think I'm hearing is to review results of the survey and identify top 3 action steps.
Yes.
For the from the action plan.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I agree with everything that the committee has put forth so far.
Okay. Any other items that we need to add? If anything comes up, send me Brooke and I an email, copy our Abigail and our Homeless to Home team, and we will do our best to try to get that on the agenda. Okay. Hearing no other suggested agenda items, we'll go ahead and close this item, and I'll move on to our second public comment for our meeting. No action may be taken upon a matter raised until the matter has specifically been added to an agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you are making a public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-6111. ID number is 353-879-329#. We are now open for public comment. Please unmute yourself and state your name for the council. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, hearing none, I will close this meeting or close this agenda item. Agenda item number 13 is our adjournment. It is now 3:02 on December 17th, 2024. Before we close this meeting, I want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Please be safe, enjoy time with your family and friends, and see you all in the new year. May 2025 be blessed for you and your family. I want to thank you all for your commitment and being with us, and I hope to see you all in 2025 happy and healthy. We'll see you all same time, same place next year. Thank you all. Have a great one. This meeting is adjourned.
Have an excellent work group. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.